Assalamualaikum, Dr. Ani and friends. For this assignment, we choose Freedom Writers as our movie review. Our groups consist of 4 members, which are me, Nur Farahin, Siti Aisyah, Nur Hanis, and Intan Nur Fatihah. For today's discussion, we will cover the synopsis, movie review, and lesson learned. Next. Freedom Writers aired in 2007. The background scenario is in 1994, 2 years after the Los Angeles riots in 1992. This movie is about Erin Crewell, played by Hilary Swank, an English teacher who applied to teach at-risk students at Woodrow Wilson High School. This movie is focused on multiracial discrimination issue that happened in the school and the journey of how Erin Crewell helps her students. There are 4 topics that we can relate through this movie, which are perception, motivation, power and leadership, and organizational change. Next.
So why we choose this movie? As this movie shows the struggle of the students, we feel students ourselves, we can relate more, and it's really connected to what is happening in the world today, like the perception of people and being judged by the color of our skin and our education background. So we really want to make people watch this movie so they can take some benefit from it too, like us. So I'm going to pass to Aisha.
I am Siti Aisyah Amran, and I'm going to present about perception. Perception is one of the elements that has been shown in this movie. Perception is a process of receiving information and making sense of the world around us. The process includes determining which information to notice, how to categorize the information, and how to interpret it within our existing knowledge. The process models can be seen as in the diagram. Firstly, the process of next. We will look at the process of selective attention. Selective attention had been portrayed in the movie. It is a process of only paying attention to some information while ignoring other information. Let's watch a short of the movie.
And I saw the war for the first time.
Please.
They took my father for retaliation. He was innocent, but they took him because he was respected by my people. They called my people a gang because we fight for our America.
As you have watched, Eva's father was abruptly caught and imprisoned for no solid reason. This proves that people will be selective on information they pay attention to instead of understanding the truth. There are 2 problems that can occur in selective attention. The first one is confirmation bias. Confirmation bias, it is a concept where people unconsciously reject information contradict to their beliefs, decisions, values, and assumptions. They also will easily accept information that supports their assumptions. As in the scene, it was portrayed in a way that the authorities only collected information that supports their biased assumptions. The second problem is selective attention will blur our vision to see assumptions and expectation of future events. In the scene, since they only believe what they want to believe and not seek the truth, the real criminal that randomly shoot the man was still free, live among the public, and possibly repeat his crime. This shows that if wrong attention given to wrong information, it could be dangerous. Next. Categorical thinking is a process of organizing people into predetermined categories stored in someone's long-term memory. The students has been categorized mainly because of their races and behavior. The white American students are usually grouped into the honors class, while most of the Blacks, Asians, or other races Americans were grouped into Miss Gruel's class. At the same time, the movie also portrays stereotyping process where people assign characteristics to identifiable group and automatically transfer those features to someone they believe belong to the group, or we usually call this a stereotype. The fact that the school categorizing its students based on races shows that they have no faith in non-white students other than getting involved in street crimes. Next. Mental model is the knowledge structure that people develop to describe, explain, and predict the world around them. This will usually label as being narrow-minded if applied bluntly. There are 3 examples in the movie. It is when the head of department, Miss Campbell, blamed the voluntary integration system that allows students from other races to enter the school for its bad performance. She used mental model to explain the drop in school's achievement. Secondly, Miss Campbell also assumed that Miss Gruwell's students will not be able to read high level of literatures and insisted to provide them with middle schoolers level of books. Next. Let's watch the final scene to further understand this concept.
If you transfer to Miss Gruwell's class, think how that'll reflect on your records.
It doesn't matter to me. My grades will still be the same. Look, Miss Campbell, when I first transferred to the school, I had a 4.0 average. But when I applied for advanced placement in English and math, I was told it would be better for me to be in a class of my own kind. Now, when I did get in, my teacher said, Victoria, it's not every day one finds an African-American student in AP and honors courses. As if I didn't notice. And when I asked another honors teacher why we don't read more Black literature, she said, we don't read Black literature because of all the sex, drugs, cussing, and fornication. I thought a simple, it's inappropriate would have sufficed.
There are consequences of applying mental model bluntly, which are, it will be difficult to see the world in different ways, and it blocks the recognition of new opportunities. Miss Campbell was unable to recognize any chance or opportunity that Miss Gruwell's students or non-white students could be high achieving and help the school to produce more diversely excellent students. Next. There are several ways to improve our perception. First, we have to acknowledge perceptual biases to reduce prejudice and discrimination toward others. Next is to increase our own self-awareness to gain a better understanding of our own decisions and behaviors. It also helps us to be non-judgmental, as taught in Islam, which is being husnuzon. Meaningful interaction also can help us to increase our empathy. I'll pass to the next presenter.
I'm Hanis, and I'm going to explain on the next topic, which is motivation, which I think is one of the major part of the movie, as it shows how Aaron Gruwell continued to motivate his students. So as we learn in the 4 drive theory of motivation, that it is important as these drives are the source of a human motivation. The 4 drive theories are to drive to acquire, bond, comprehend, and defend. So it is up to us to wake up the drive within us to strive for our motivation. So in the first scene, as you can see on the left of the slide, is about Aaron Gruwell actually plays a line game in which that she asks a question, and if the question is related to the students, they have to come and stand near the line. For example, she asked that if you ever lost a friend to a gang violence, please stand on the line. So almost all of the students come to stand on the line. It actually makes the student understand that they are all going through something, not just themselves. It actually woke up their 4 drive theory that is within them. It actually forces the students to bond, acquire, comprehend, and defend with one another as they are going through a similar pain. So Aaron Gruwell here is actually trying really hard to wake up their driving stimuli so they could be motivated by one another if they realize that they are all going through the same thing. So for the next scene, let's watch the video first.
beginning of the tour, they give you a card with the child's picture on it. You can find out who they were and what camp they were sent to. And at the end of the tour, you can find out that they survived.
So as you see in the scene, Erin Gruel took her students to a museum where they are each given a card with a child's name on it. So we learned that social cognitive theory is a theory that to learn to observe other people's lives and what happened to them. So basically in this scene, it actually gave a big impact to the students as they learned the hardship of the children. They watch as the children suffer from war. It actually connects with the theory that we learned. Students get to observe the lives of children and how they try to stay alive during the war. The students here motivate themselves to be a better person so they can get out of the fact that even though they are divided by their colors and people labeling them as stupid, they still can graduate from school. So next slide. Okay, for the last scene, let's watch the video first.
Now, we are all ordinary people, but even an ordinary secretary or a housewife or a teenager can, within their own small ways, turn on a small light in a dark room.
So in this scene, actually it relates with the goal setting that we learned, which is a process of establishing goals for the purpose of motivating other people to know that we are heading towards one goal. So in this scene, Mickey's is in a way is motivating the students. I myself, actually, this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. I myself feel motivated that I too, as a student or a daughter, can make changes on my own. So as Mickey says here, that knowing that I can set my own goals and achieving it all by myself still amazes me. So in a way that this scene actually gives motivation to students all around the world that you too can change the world and be a greater person as long as you are willing to give it a chance to change your own life. I'm going to pass to Intan.
I am Intan Fatiha and I will explain about power and leadership. First of all, let's watch this movie.
I chose Wilson because of the integration program. I think what's happening here is really exciting, don't you? My father was involved in the civil rights movement, and I remember when I was watching the LA riots on TV, I was thinking of going to law school at the time, and I thought, God, by the time you're defending a kid in a courtroom, the battle's already lost. I think the real fighting should happen here in the classroom.
This scene happens at the beginning of the movie where Erin Gruel, the main character, just applied to Wilson High School to teach problematic students. These students are mostly not white people. They're involved in gang, drugs, and have been abused. In these scenes, Erin shows a strong personal attributes of leadership, which are self-concept and drive. Self-concept means that she has a strong self-belief about her leadership skills to achieve her goals, while drive means she has a strong inner motivation to pursue goals in helping her students. So in the scene earlier, we can see that Erin had a strong self-concept where she believed that the way to help problematic students was by teaching them from classroom while they are still young. All other teachers in the school ignore them. However, in the scene in the picture below, Erin said that if she do her job right, the student might be lining at the door. This means that she is confident that she can teach the students and help them change. This also shows her strong drive of motivations. So let's watch the next scene first.
I want to do more with them, and I need the support of someone in power.
You have to take this up with your department head and your principal. I can't get involved in inter-school policy.
My principal only listens to my department head, and she's not very supportive.
You'll have to find a way to deal with it.
No, I'd rather just deal directly with someone in power.
Ms. Gruel, there's a system in place based on years of running an educational facility. You have to follow this system.
No, I won't. Look, I'm just trying to do my job.
This scene shows Erin's strong personal attributes of leadership, which are personality and integrity. Personality means that she has a high level of extroversion and honor, while integrity means she has a strong moral principle, which are demonstrated through her sincerity and consistency to fulfill her promise with her students. These scenes happened after a few weeks. Erin started teaching her students and she realized her student does not get enough books. So she tried to talk to her school principal to get new books for her students, but she failed. So after a while, Erin went to deal with Dr. Carl Korn, the director of Long Beach Board of Education. She tried to fight for her students' right, but Dr. Carl said that she cannot do so because of the education system. However, Erin said that she will not follow the system because it mistreated her students. This whole scene shows Erin's strong personality and integrity. It is because she was not afraid to deal directly with someone in higher position than her. Okay, last but not least, Erin shows a strong transformational leadership perspective where she changed her student life by creating, communicating, modeling a vision, and inspiring them to strive for the vision of living bad habits. As we can see in the photos here, everything started when Erin changed her student seats in the classroom and they managed to form a new friendships. Next, she gave her students journal to write their stories in it. By doing this, she knows her student problems and what they want in the future. We can also see here that Erin follows the Pathgo leadership style of supportive, where she provided her student with full support. She is also friendly, approachable, and patient when guiding her students. Furthermore, Erin also made them do the toast for change, where they have to promise to leave their bad habits and start a new life. And lastly, Erin also made a project where all the students have to write their diaries together as a book. And this book was later named as the Freedom Writer's Diary. I think that is all for my movie review on power and leadership topic. I will now pass to next presenter.
All right. Hi, I'm Nofarahin. I will explain on organizational change. Before that, let's watch this video first.
My PO doesn't understand that schools are like the city, and the city is just like a prison. All of them divided into separate sections, depending on tribes. There's Little Cambodia, the ghetto, Wonder Bread Land, and us, south of the border, or Little Tijuana. That's just the way it is, and everyone knows it.
All right, based on the video, we can see that the School of Organization really need to change their norms and the way of conduct. All the students in the school were divided into separate sections and they were intense to each section. The school was being irresponsible by ignoring this matter, and this kind of culture was normalized in the school, where the situation became worse, leading to violence such as classroom disorder, fights, and use of weapons, which were shown in this movie. This is bad because school is supposed to be a safe and harmonious place where the students obtain the good education. The school should change its culture and infrastructure to make the students united and give a proper education. Next. Factors of resistance to change. First is breaking routines. Change do require people in organization to break the routines and learn a new pattern, which makes some people refuse to change. Like Margaret argued that the teaching rotations will be disrupted and retirement schedules will be re-evaluated. Second is incongruent team dynamics. The change proposed may force them to change their way they have been working and requires extra effort. This is the reason Margaret and Brian did not agree with Erin's suggestion to teach the student in the junior year. Next. Strategies to minimize resistance of changes. First is communication. This is vital to generate the urgency to change and minimize the resistance to change. Like Erin trying to get attention from the Board of Education regarding the matter and asking for some support. Second is employee involvement. This is needed even if it from a lower level management. The more important is they must have interest in the change. This is shown when Mrs. Erin does work a part-time job to buy books for her students. Next. This movie used the action research approach to make the change. Action research is a problem-oriented process that diagnoses the need for change, introduce the intervention, and then evaluates and stabilize the desired changes. First step, she starts to identify the situation by asking questions whether they know about the Holocaust and how many of them has ever been shot at. And surprisingly, most of the students raised their hands. By the results, she realized the real situation about what happened to the class. And the second step, she diagnosed the real problem the students had. Erin asked them to write a diary in which she can understand her student better by knowing their background and identify each of her student problems through it. And last step, she take action to solve the problem by focusing on their issue and trying to make the students united despite not their race problem. She spent her time and money to set a dinner meeting with the real Holocaust survivors. After applying this action approach, the students have changed their behavior and focus on their education. And in Islam, we can relate change as hijrah. As Muslim, change for the better is not to wait for a certain time, but should always be to have a better life. Hijrah also should cover both the physical and the spiritual. There is saying that the most successful person is the person who today is better than yesterday, and the person who fails is the person who today is worse than yesterday. Next, I pass to the next presenter.
To summarize, there are several lessons to be highlighted in the movies from the elements explained earlier. First, perceptions need to be controlled and acknowledged properly to avoid perceptual biases when we are facing with diversity of backgrounds. Second, motivation is very important no matter what role you are playing as a daughter, student, or an employee. Then, good leaders determine a society's fate. Erin Gruwell's good leadership skills help her students to achieve their goals. And finally, changes are always made for better performance and success. Students in room 203 has changed their behaviors and united for their better life. We have to be ready to adapt and to accept changes in our life. And there are so much more to learn from this movie.
Okay, all in all, to wrap up our presentation, we believe that Freedom Writer is an excellent movie to be watched by everyone as we can reflect on the lesson and think from a different perspective. It makes us think that as a student, we need to strive for the best, and no matter what are our backgrounds, we are all human beings that can make a change. And as Miki said, only you can turn a light in a dark room. And lastly, here is some real photos of Erin Gruwell and her students. So I think that is all from our group. Thank you.